very much, Michelle. I appreciate your assistance facilitating this session. And thank you to all of you who have taken time to participate. Michelle, we may have some other folks joining us midstream. So let's all give Michelle a little golf clap and thank her in advance for her work to help make the latecomers welcome and allow them to participate via the Q&A. So as Michelle said, and I'll repeat often, we're going to have an interactive session, and I'll encourage you when you have a question, and I do encourage your questions, to use the hand raise feature if you can avail yourself of that. If you can't avail yourself of that and can't find any way to do that, then you can put a question in the Slack, not in the Slack, in the chat, or else you can simply say, I have a question. And Michelle is watching that for us, and she'll bring that to my attention at the right moment, and then we'll let you unmute and ask your question. I'm going to also invite you to provide feedback during the session, and Michelle's going to let me know when I come close to our maybe 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, maybe from our appointed end time, so that I can take some questions. So if that's okay, Michelle, you give me a 5-minute notice. And or 6 or 7. Yeah, there you go. So I'm Russell Miller. I live here in the metropolitan Atlanta area. I'm a product development specialist. I'm an engineer by training. I have been helping either design or develop products for many years now, both in the auto industry, in the aerospace industry, and for the last decade or so, I've been helping to build custom software applications for enterprise customers and others. I happen to be, as I stand on my tippy toes, a Scrum.org professional Scrum trainer, and I would welcome any of your questions along those lines. I teach classes virtually now due to COVID, so you're welcome to join me in one of my upcoming classes. I'm going to share 2 things with you at a minimum. I'm going to share a mind map, which includes the content that will guide our ideas today. And then a little later, I'll share a Word document, and I can make that available to some of you after the class, No, I'm not a teacher. After the session, if you like. So with that, I'm going to share my mind map. I use a tool called Mind Manager often. I also often use a tool called Mind Mup. Mind Mup is great for organizations that don't already have a mind mapping application in their portfolio of standard tools for their employees. And so Mind Mup is easier for those of you who are trying to introduce mind mapping tools in your organizations. Mind Mup is a good gateway drug to other more powerful mind mapping tools like Mind Manager. And with that, I will share my screen. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing because you can only see me from the torso up. So without my narration, often you won't be able to see what I'm doing. Beautiful. So now you should be able to see my mind map. And the topic that we're going to discuss today is discovery tools to help learn to build the right thing. I have had the privilege of having the experience of helping to craft multiple visions, both for products and services, but also for major features in products and services. And so we're going to talk a lot about the vision for a product, but many of the things we discuss, or I discuss, and we discuss, I encourage your participation, are going to be equally applicable not only to a product, but to a subset of features within a product. For instance, if you have a large product or a relatively large product, and that product may have some large features within it, then I encourage and coach teams and individuals to create a vision for the major features and not simply a vision for the product as a whole. So with that, you can connect with me through the means listed here, scrum.org/Russell-Miller, or there's my LinkedIn handle, and I encourage you to connect with me there. I also updated my profile on the Slack, so if you communicate The Slack channels are going to be open after the conference, so you're welcome to communicate with me through Slack on the Agile Day Atlanta Slack channels, and we can have longer conversations about any of these things, or I can point you to some other resources if you like. So without further ado, we should probably start by defining what we mean in this context by a product vision. A product vision identifies the problem we're trying to solve, or in the case of which we're not trying to necessarily solve a problem, but if we're trying to pursue a particular opportunity, the vision helps us identify the opportunity we're trying to solve or pursue, or both. So both those things. It provides a guiding light to all stakeholders so that we can align understanding and align actions. And we're going to talk more about alignment of understanding, how we achieve it, how we use the alignment of understanding and why that's important, and how it's going to impact during a product development effort. Well, you might ask, who should be involved with the creation of a product or feature vision? That's a fine question. It's a very good question to ask. I'm going to suggest to you that it's not quite as important as getting consensus from the right stakeholders. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is some organizations are overly bound to roles and responsibilities. And sometimes that limits who is involved or engaged in the creation of the vision for a product or for features. Well, what do I mean? Well, if someone believes it's her job to create the vision, well, we might limit unintentionally, or maybe intentionally, but we might limit the solution that we come up with, because we feel like if we get involved, we're going to be stepping on somebody else's territory. Now, what I would suggest to you, a better idea than asking who should create the product or feature vision, the better question is, what can I do to help? Now, that may seem obvious. It may seem sort of like rah-rah team, but I'm very specific when I mention that, because I have worked in organizations in which as a contractor, and not even as a consultative contractor, but as a contractor in which no one ever asked me, help us create a product vision. No one ever said, Russell, we want you to create a product vision, but yet I have engaged to help stakeholders who candidly needed some assistance in creating a vision for a product. And many people, when they realize they need some help, or maybe it becomes apparent to them that they need some help, they're willing to accept some help. And especially if these people are senior leaders, if you're not a senior leader in your organization, it's not uncommon for organizational leaders to allow you, as long as you're helping and as long as others perceive you as helping, it's not uncommon for you to be allowed to contribute in ways that, if you just look at an org chart, people might be surprised to see you helping in. And this is not a new idea. The idea of how to gain influence by helping is pretty old, and it's also very tried and true. So if this interests you, and if you think you have something to contribute to the creation of a product vision, well, then I suggest that you look for opportunities to help. And if you have something to contribute to the conversation about the creation of a feature vision or a product vision, then jump right in. And if I can help you, I'm happy to do that. Some would ask, okay, this all sounds pretty good. I'm intrigued by the idea of a product vision. However, I've never created one before, or I've never been involved in the creation of a product vision before. So I'd really like some help, Russell, in understanding a little bit better what you're talking about. Glad you asked, because I'm going to share with you an example of a version of a product vision. I'm going to share a Word document with you so you can see an example, so we can level set. Here we go. This is a version, a manifestation of a product vision. Let me zoom out just a little bit so you can see more of the document. So if you notice something interesting here at the top, I have a product, comma, feature, comma, function, or service, and then I use the term product in quotes, vision template, because without the word product, I lose some of my potential audience, because we want to understand there's a vision in terms of something. Vision for what? If you notice above that, I've included first draft. Anybody want to volunteer? You're welcome to put it in the Zoom chat. Anybody want to volunteer or guess why I use the phrase first draft? Your participation is welcome. Somebody put something in our Zoom webinar chat. Why would I say first draft? Because it will change. Love it, Richard. MVP. Oh, good thought, Sanjay. Anybody else got something to offer? Oh, there you go. Jason hit it. It opens it up for communication, and that also invites people to co-create, communicate. You're flexible. Yes. It also, so all of these are right, actually. None of these are wrong. It also reduces inhibitions. So you might have people in a meeting, and they might have never contributed before to a product or feature vision, ever. They may have never even seen one created before, and that's actually quite common. So what are those people thinking if they're sitting in the room? Are they thinking, it's not my job to contribute? Are they thinking, I don't know how to contribute? Are they thinking, I don't have any experience to contribute here? Yeah, if you say first draft, it lowers everyone's inhibitions. It's like using the sticky notes here behind me. They're very, people aren't afraid to contribute when they realize the thing's just a draft, or if you're an artist, a study, right? You're doing a study before you do your final piece of artwork. So putting first draft in here and is a good suggestion. You could just say draft, but what we want is as much input as we can get. We don't worry so much about people providing input that we think is wrong. We worry more initially about people not giving us enough input. So in this document, in this particular template, we explain what a vision is at the top. And I've already gone over that in the mind map. Identifies the problem we're trying to solve, or identifies the opportunity we wish to pursue, or both. Provides a guiding light to all stakeholders to align understanding and align actions. We want the vision to impact the future work. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Anybody ever been a part of a product development effort, and you knew a vision or a mission for the product existed, but you saw it once or twice and you never much saw it again, or never much heard from it again? Am I the only one who's been involved in traditional? I'm looking at the chat here. There you go, many times. Yeah, with traditional project management, you might have some initial scoping document, right? Some initial purpose of the project, and that's some kind of artifact, maybe a project management office requires, and you create it, and then the rest of the team goes on and tries to build the solution. So what we might want to do at the beginning of the product or feature vision, thank you, Michelle, for your instructions. You say if you want your answer to be seen by more than our presenter, you can switch your option to all panelists and attendees. Beautiful. Love that. Yeah, because some of the folks are just replying to panelists. So yeah, if you want it to be visible to everyone, you can say all panelists and attendees, and it might actually encourage others to. I think some people are a little bit inhibited in our virtual space sometimes. So yeah, we want it to impact our actions, and we're going to talk more about that. So you should begin with a narrative description. And here are three questions I think are good to ask. I'll start with the first one. You want to identify who the target audience is for your particular product or feature. If it's for a feature, you might have a product that has multiple user, we call them personas, right? A prototypical user that might represent a certain type or category or group or class of users. And so if we're talking about a feature level vision, then we want to identify which of the which persona or personas we're targeting with this particular feature. And so we would begin our narrative We probably create one as we'll create one in the class as for illustrative purposes. So I'm going to invite you to think of a product or a feature of a product, and I invite you to put that in our Zoom chat. And we're gonna try as a group. Yes, that's right. We're gonna co-create a product vision during the session, or at least we'll attempt to. You know, we're flying without a net here, so we'll see. So put some ideas in here. Give me some ideas for a product. I'll give you one. An electric car would be a product. That's a huge product. Meal delivery services like Grubhub, that would be a product. So put some ideas in here for a product, and we'll craft a vision for it during the class. It can be a product you already are familiar with, and you might be able to contribute a lot. Or it may be a product you're not familiar with, and you'd like to understand the vision. Come on, give me some feedback. I'm looking at the webinar. We won't name your name. We'll just take your idea and run with it. Anybody want to suggest a product we want to create a vision for? Ooh, there we go. Real estate, virtual kindergarten. That's probably very topical. On-demand video. Oh, that's good. Maybe you mean like Netflix or something else? You can answer that to all of us. What else? Who else has a suggestion? What do you mean by on-demand video? You can unmute if you'd like and tell us specifically what you
mean. Yeah, you could go with do on-demand through Xfinity if you wanted to do Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, any of those.
Ah, okay, right. Now I'm with you. Now I'm with you a little bit. Understand. Podcast production app. Let's go. I think a lot of people would be familiar with on-demand video, and it's not been around for 100 years. In fact, it's not been around for 25 years, or at least not in the mainstream. So let's go with that one. So we'll pick a target audience, and let's see. We'll say for the movie enthusiast. No, it doesn't. That's too narrow. Let's say for movie watchers. That's pretty broad. So we'll say movie watchers are our target audience. And if you want to suggest another persona, you're welcome to. But movie watchers are pretty broad. What do they want? Ooh, yes. So in the chat, tell me what a movie watcher wants in the context of an on-demand app. What do they want? You tell me and give me some ideas. We might put it here in our product vision. What would a movie watcher want from an on-demand video product? Ability to search, easily find movies that interest me. Yeah, the searching is a big deal. It's a big deal because I'm a member of Amazon Prime, but yet it's hard for me to find movies on Amazon Prime. There's actually a couple of websites that are created just to help you search Amazon Prime and others, of course, but by rating and by category. Suggestions based on previous movies you've watched, maybe your interests or profiles. Ability to comment, parental controls. You might like to set up movie dates. Oh, that might be fun with people that are your peers or others. Ability to pause. Ooh, that's really good. Curated list. This is good. I was just thinking yesterday about Netflix. Netflix used to allow you to review movies, and unless they recently added that back, that's no longer possible. Instead, they give you like a suggested how it closely it aligns with your interests. Ooh, co-watching online. Okay, that's some good stuff. So I'm gonna take it's not gonna be perfect, but I'm gonna take a shot here. What do they want? They want to watch movies whenever they want. And so that's good. It's on demand. To watch movies without, now we have to step back in time a little ways. Back in time when we had those corner video stores, you actually had to get out of the house to go get a video. So you have to those of you who are 20 don't remember those. I'm just kidding. Used to probably remember those days. But to watch movies without leaving the house to go get a video. Yes, Blockbuster. There you go. So that's two things that they would want. And what will be the main benefit? Ooh, you could insert the current problem or opportunity. So we've already, so we're gonna step back in time to imagine the world before the online on-demand video. So the problem, what were some of the problems or opportunities that existed back when Blockbuster ruled the world of video rentals? What were some of the problems besides having to leave the house? Anybody remember the problems? Ooh, late fees. Oh, that's good. Insert the current problem. Okay. Avoid late fees. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Somebody else has rented the movie you want. Yes. Yes, that is a problem. Movie, let's see, you want isn't, I'm gonna give you a facilitation tip. If possible, use the exact words that the person who offers up the idea used. Exact words, don't edit them at all. Movie you want isn't available. Next time I'll cut and paste. Available. Okay, let's see. Didn't have the movie I wanted in stock. Yeah, very similar idea. Yeah. Ooh, damaged. Yes. Anybody take that DVD and you rub it against your shirt or a clean soft cloth and you buff it and you try to get it to work, and is it the DVD or is it my machine? Oh, they aren't open. Okay, personal story. I have shown up at a video rental store like with 2 minutes before they were intended to close and found the door locked. I was not, or maybe it's 3 or 4 minutes or 5, but anyhow, it was before they were intended to close and the door was locked. I was a very unhappy camper. Very unhappy camper. I had a cold and wanted to go get a bunch of videos and take them home, DVDs, and watch them. This is years ago. So to wash my sorrows away in movie entertainment. Oh, the wrong movie in the boxer case. Yes, that's good. That's good. I'm going to write, they aren't open. That's good. They aren't open. I'm going to cut and paste because I want to get your exact words. We're going to take any more problems or opportunities. I want to get everybody's participation, and then we're going to move on to the meat here. Actually, this is pretty meaty because this is what I'm doing with you is a technique you can use with some of your stakeholders to facilitate the creation of a vision. And this is important because you're getting some real life experience on how this goes. Albeit you're not, we're not actually creating the product. I got that. And you're not a leader in the organization trying to help me craft the vision or a stakeholder. But this is exactly the way that I have participated in helping to craft product visions when I was not the visionary myself. Main benefits, avoid late fees. Movie you want isn't available. So this is a problem we want to avoid. So I'll say avoid. Yeah, and aren't open. Okay, if you think of another one, then write the word benefit in caps and then a colon, and then we'll try to see that in the chat. All right, so I'm going to suggest to you that you consider limiting your main benefits to 1 or 2 at the start. That doesn't mean you don't capture the rest. We've got the rest captured here in the chat. I don't feel the need to, for your sake of your time, to copy them all over here. So we want to start small and simple, and we can expand or revise it later. Because, so why do we want to start with 1 or 2? Anybody want to give me a suggestion in the chat? Because I want you to know just not what I suggest, but why. Why would we only start with 1 or 2? If we have 3 or 4 great ideas, why would we not put those in the narrative to begin with? Anybody have an idea? Anyone? Oh, that's, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else? Words are powerful. So if you have a different phrasing of an idea, give me that different phrasing of an idea, because we got 2 or 3 comments about focus. Anybody got a different, don't dilute the core benefit. You'll never get it done. So these are actually really good reasons. One good reason that's not listed here this is really good. One good reason is if you're doing this collaboratively with others, you don't have to. We're going to talk about how we can create it in a minute. But if you're doing this collaboratively, if you have 3 or 4 or 5 main benefits, then you're going to have multiple people in your session that are thinking about different benefits. So you're going to have, let's say you have 3 people in the room. Well, what if all 3 of those people are thinking about the different main benefits? That's not as productive as having some focus in the creation of the vision. And so all those other listed reasons are good. So we want to narrow it down to 1 or 2. And just for the sake of here, I'm going to pick main benefit. I like the idea that you don't have to leave the house. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, we might focus on the ones of the highest value. So I'm going to suggest you can get it without. Is that the I'm thinking? Just a minute. I'm going to suggest having access to the movie you want is a main benefit, and watching movies without leaving the house. I'm going to suggest that those are 2. So I'm going to bold them. Where it is, avoid movie you want isn't available. That's the one I was trying to get at. So you can watch the movies. These 2 in bold are very similar ideas. I don't have to wait for someone else to finish with a movie. I can get the movie I want when I want it. And I'm going to highlight this one in yellow just to distinguish between the bolding. Watch movies without leaving the house. So what you could say is this is, let's see, problem we're trying to solve or identifies the opportunity. So movie watchers would like to watch movies. I know it's a little redundant, but bear with me. To watch movies whenever they want without having to leave the house, apartment, to get the movies. So perfection is not our goal here. Bear with me. Perfection is not our goal. This is a draft. We'll bold that. So it's often useful to actually make a list, describe the current state, and then also describe how the future state will be different. So if we step back in time to the world of Blockbuster, then the current problem we might select is must leave house to rent, buy movie. How the solution will be different from the current state, rent or buy movie without going anywhere. That's good. Problem, whenever you want. Okay, movie may not be available or not available. I'll just say movie not available. Out of stock. And how the solution will be different from the current state. More, maybe even all. Just say all. All inventory available all the time. So we're creating some value propositions here. I'm going to bold that so it's clear. In fact, I may even fill it in with a different color. So it's, there we go. Some other problems that were discussed were late fees, right? And how the solution will be different, no late fees at all. Okay, we cured that problem. They aren't open, right? Store closed. And store never closed. This is great. Now let me look at some of the other problems that were presented, and we'll think about those. Movie one is available, didn't have the movie one in stock. Damaged or poor quality, right? I'll use your exact words. Damaged or poor quality. Control C. And this isn't completely eliminated. Sometimes your internet bandwidth is insufficient, or there's an error. If you ever pull up an Amazon Prime video and there was an error playing back. So, but it's greatly reduced, I think. So greatly reduced incidents, period. We say greatly reduced incidents. So there's some of our problems. And so what we're doing is we're making it very clear what the current problems are. And we're making it clear, oftentimes stakeholders are clear about what the problems are, but they're not clear about how the future solution is going to be different. And this is just initially. So by listing them here, and I'll tell you later about how we revisit this, it creates a very clear common understanding about how we are going to make our future solution look different. So this is an example. The fourth lit thing here is what I've already begun to fill out is how will the future solution be different from the current state or current competing products. So we could make this list longer and longer and longer. So there you go. Limit 1 to 2 to start. I didn't do that here. Actually, I listed several here, but that's okay. You get the idea of how you would expand that later, because we are going to talk about how we would expand that later. So with that, I'm going to shift back over to, now that we have a common understanding in our head about what a vision might look like, I'm going to shift gears here back to the mind map so we can consider some other, I think, really important questions. So I'll change my share, and you're welcome, anytime you have a question, you're welcome to put the word question in caps in the chat, and Michelle will see that and bring it to our attention. And we're gonna have a dedicated time for questions at the end. So, and if you have questions that we can't get to in the session, then I can help. We can have a conversation offline in Slack. We could even set up a Zoom meeting or party sometime during lunchtime in the future. And those who are interested in the topic, we can continue this conversation after the conference. So I asked the question, what does a product or feature vision look like? Now we have one idea in our mind about what a version of a product or feature vision could look like. Now here's a question. I'll back up a little bit because I've already showed you the answers, but maybe everybody didn't see it. The next question is, when should the product or feature vision be created? This is a very salient question. When do you create it? I'm going to show you some potential answers to this question. It should be created continuously. I'm going to get to continuously in a minute. The wrong answer would be at the beginning. What? What do you mean you don't create at the beginning? Well, I say it's the wrong answer because it's the wrong answer if you create it at the beginning and don't revisit it. If you leave it behind after you create it in the beginning, that's a bad answer. A better answer is at the beginning, and then you create it continuously by inspecting your vision and adapting your vision. Well, that sounds great. We're going to inspect that thing and adapt that thing. Well, where and when do you do that? And who needs to be involved? Boy, you're so smart to ask these good questions. Well, let's answer a couple of other questions first. What kind of qualifications do you need to create or help create a vision? And I emphasize the help create a vision. Some of you may be in the position of being a product manager or a product owner, or a would-be product manager or would-be product owner, or in some other ways accountable for thinking of the vision for a product, or maybe even just a feature or some features for a product. So what kind of qualifications do we need to do a good job at this? Well, one of the qualifications you need is some analysis skills. And so when I am delivering training to product owners who don't have an analysis background, and I happen to have spent some years getting some analysis training and doing engineering analysis, engineering business analysis, and so I have years of practice and training. I'm a certified analyst with the IIBA, and if those of International Institute of Business Analysis, and those of you who want to increase your analysis skills, you're in the right. Some of you are in the right city, because Atlanta has one of the largest chapters of the IIBA in the world. Here's a great reference book you might want to consider. This book is by Barbara Karkanord, 7 Steps to Mastering Business Analysis. If you've not read any business analysis books, then this is a great place to start. It's the best single book that I know of. If you know of some others, send them to me by email, because I'm a big reader and a big learner. So we need some analysis skills. We need a little bit of an analysis tool bag. Another thing that we need is a nose, like a bloodhound, a nose for what stakeholders would find valuable. Because analysis skills without a nose for value is not going to be a recipe for success. So how do you go about creating the vision? Well, we've seen an example of it being created on the fly. Well, here are some options for how it can be done. And I will invite you in the chat to share with me some. I intentionally made only three items in this list. So share with me some other ways that a vision would be created. One way is for a visionary to create the vision and then invite others to help refine it at the beginning. So someone has the vision for the product, and they craft the vision by themselves, so we don't start with a blank sheet of paper, and then they involve others. Another way, another model for creating a vision is that someone with a nose for value might help stakeholders craft an initial vision, work as a facilitator. This is an it's not sufficiently exercised analysis skill, but that's one way a vision can be created. I have done this for my clients. I have come in without organizational authority to create a vision, and I have facilitated the creation of a vision, because some of my skills include having good empathy for the needs of customers and users, and that's where we fall into with that last one. Someone with analysis skills helps stakeholders develop an initial vision. Well, that's okay. Anybody else? Anybody else got some other models for how you create it? We'll come back to them. If you want to populate one, we'll come back to it. How do we make our vision have an impact on our solution? How do we make it have an effect on what we do? So we have laws on the books, in Georgia against certain things, but how do we get people to follow those laws? Now, vision isn't a law, but I'm making an analogy here. Well, one of the ways we make the vision have impact is by keeping the vision on the top of mind of the people that are building the product. Now, I have a question for you. How do you keep the vision on the top of mind of the people building the product? Now I want some participation. Make it visible. Love it. Yes. What are some other ways that we can keep it on top of mind? I will suggest to you that if the vision isn't on top of mind for the people building the product, then you're going to have problems, because you need it to influence decisions that are made, micro decisions, like small decisions that a person wouldn't even reach out to a product manager to ask, or a product owner to ask. We want them to think about, oh yes, here's the vision, and here's the benefits, and here's the problems we're trying to solve. And it's not enough that they know where they could find the vision document. We need the vision document to be in their head and in their hearts. Couch discussions in a vision context. Yes, that's right. Ask yourselves, well, how does this align with the main problems we're trying to solve? Or how does this align? When I say this, I mean somebody makes a suggestion, we could do this. Yes, hold those up as look at everything through the lens of the vision. Anybody else got a suggestion? Well, I'm going to offer you a few. If you're doing Scrum, how about at your sprint planning meetings? Do you examine your product vision? Ooh, there you go. Look at that. Beverly. There, here you go, Beverly. Look at that. It's almost like she saw my presentation beforehand. That's the first one on my list. Yes. So if you're doing a Scrum, yeah, I know. If you're doing Scrum, she says, woohoo. If you're doing Scrum, then yeah, you need to trot out that vision at the beginning of sprint planning. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Or at the beginning of your sprint reviews, and in your at the beginning of your stakeholder meetings, and in your customers meetings. And the reason we want to do this is because we want to create alignment. We want to give everyone, we want to create a couple of things. One is we want to put it top of mind, and repetition helps that. Over and over and over and over and over and over. The more your development team members or Scrum team members hear the vision, the more it's going to influence their work. In addition, we want people to see this because we might not have identified all the problems or opportunities. We might not have identified all the ways our solution might be different. We might not have yet identified all of our potential customers. And by having stakeholders, including development team members, over and over and over again see the vision, that stuff's going to come up. And in addition, it creates a sense of accountability. So if we create a product that doesn't quite meet the customer needs, you can't point to any particular individual and beat them up because the vision was wrong. If you've had an opportunity to review the vision over and over and over and over again, and you also had an opportunity, so it creates a bit of a sense of a shared accountability for the outcome. Maybe not shared accountability, shared, I don't know. Well, accountability is the best word I can come up with, but I feel somewhat responsible because I've seen it and seen it and seen it and seen it and seen it. So that's a good reason to do this. If we advance a little bit further, how do you update it? Oh, that's a brilliant question. Well, for those of you who have some experience with Agile product development and the creation and maintenance of a product backlog, when I'm training product owners, I make it clear product backlog gets updated anytime the product backlog needs to be updated. So now, how often do we update the vision? Well, we update the vision when we realize that it needs improvement. The only question is who you need to involve, and that varies from organization to organization. So you need to understand who your key stakeholders are that you need to buy off on change to your vision, and that's context dependent. And I can't give you a hard or fast rule there. So you want to create a specific list in your mind and also write it down somewhere so you understand whose approval that you need to make. You can create draft after draft after draft, but before you make it an official version number, there's probably some people that you need to sign off, for lack of a better phrase, on the update to your vision. Now, with that, so you're seeing it, sprint review, sprint planning, stakeholder meetings, when you meet with your customers, the people who are going to be your future users, you want them to be able to see the vision to provide you input. Like, are we on the right track? The vision is represents where the product is going, and so we want we want our customers to see that as so that we can get input from them, so that we make sure that we're on the right track. Question here: does the vision differentiate from a goal or a theme? So in my world, a theme can often be an overarching, unifying thought that might govern the development of multiple features. And so in that way, they're similar. When I think of goal, I often think of a goal for an iteration or a goal for a sprint. But if you're not using that Agile lingo, you could say that the vision for a feature is a goal for a feature. What are we trying to accomplish? I often use the phrase big rocks to define major pieces of functionality for a product. So there's a product vision, and then I'll help create a vision for each of the big rocks. So it's not just a vision for a product, but a vision for major sets of functionality. So with that, even though we might have a little bit of extra time, I'm going to open the floor up for questions. You're welcome to unmute. You do not have to type your question. Who has a question? Anybody? I welcome them. This is for your benefit, how to make this actionable in your world. Jason, you want to ask yours out loud?
You just answered my question out loud. So,
Beautiful.
yeah. So I think there's another question I have here though. But when you look at the product vision, right, and you talk about the product and the feature vision itself, when thinking within Agile itself, like you've got your user needs statement. How do you take something like the user needs statement and tie it into something like a vision statement?
Oh, that's great. That's great. Would you tell me in your context how you use the user needs statements? And maybe I can connect the dots.
Yeah, so for me, I focus on the user needs statement as being as a persona. I want X so that whatever value or outcome I'm trying to achieve, right? And then we use very similar phrasing at an epic level as well,
okay.
Right? So that's kind of how we look at it.
Sure. I think there's no hard and fast rule here. I think that when I think of the user needs statement, I think of that at a very detailed feature level. So it really depends on how much effort is involved, or how important that feature is to the success of your business or the success of your product. So if you're going to expend a lot of effort to build the feature, then you may want to go to the effort of creating a vision statement. Or independent of the effort, if you think this particular feature is mission critical in some way for your business or for the product, or will have a significant impact on revenue or customer satisfaction, it's really just a question of return on invested time and effort, because the vision statement it's a little bit more time to create, right? A little more thought, and maybe you have more people involved. And so that's the way I would suggest you consider it, is how much effort do we need to go to for this feature? And you can decide that based on the effort you have to expend or the potential return. That's be my suggestion, Jason.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? This is your time. Get your nickels worth.
All right, this is Jason again. So
Sure.
What are some common mistakes you see made when someone's trying to go through and do the vision?
One of the most common mistakes is that it's not revisited. That somebody spends some time up front creating the vision, and stakeholders think it's done. Like, in fact, there's two big ones. One is the vision gets created and it doesn't get recapitulated, to use the music theory term. We don't recapitulate the vision so that it gets re-rehearsed. That's a big problem. Another big problem is some organizations don't even understand the need for a vision, because somehow they think, senior leaders think it's Michael's job to create the product, or to oversee the product, or to be the bear with me, product owner of the product, and they think he's got it under control, and maybe he doesn't. Not picking on Michael, because Michael's anyhow, but I'm just using him as the example, because he's kind enough to upload a photo here for his profile. But people might not have the skills necessary to articulate a vision. It might not be part of the culture of the organization to create it, and so there's not even so. Problem one is it's not recapitulated or revisited. Problem two is there's not a vision created at all. A problem three that's common is development team members think somehow it's this ethereal, fluffy thing that doesn't have anything to do with their jobs or their day-to-day. And so that's a very common problem. And I guess another problem, the fourth problem, I'll just mention forward for the sake of memory, is that people don't feel like they have the authority to edit the vision or contribute to the vision, and they think it's somebody else's job. And so once it gets etched in electrons, your favorite word processing tool, other people think, well, okay, fine. What you would rather have is Amber and Nat and Richard and Lindsay and Rahul and Sanjay feel like they have something to contribute to the vision to make the product better, or to, if they think it's being steered in the wrong direction, that they have some kind of a way to raise their hand and suggest changes. Those are four. There's actually quite a few problems, but those are four of the most significant ones, Jason.
Cool. All right, one more question.
Yeah.
So
You don't have to limit it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're priming the pump for those others who are too scared to ask questions, Jason.
So organizations are different, right? They have different stakeholders. So when you talk about the context of stakeholders, right, are you talking about, those within leadership, within the organization, or are you talking possibly like clients that may be buying your product?
Well, I think in most of the phrases in this presentation, this workshop, when I use the term stakeholders, I was mostly thinking of leaders in the organization. However, it's equally appropriate for potential customers, because what we're trying to do is align our product to the needs of our stakeholders or customers, because sometimes you're building a product for internal use and they're not paying customers. So yeah, I also use stakeholders in the context of an internal customer. But we want to find out as soon as possible whether or not our understanding of the problem is right, or our potential solution is right, or that we've got our priority is right. I mean, we can say we have 4 problems. Do we understand which of the 4 of those is the most important problem, or the most pressing problem? Because importance and urgency are not always the same things, right? Sometimes one problem's not the biggest, but there's some kind of time-sensitive reason that we need to solve that problem. And so the only risk is you just don't want your competitors to know what you're up to, but you really want feedback from your potential users and customers, both early and often. There's a lot of benefit that comes from having the engagement from your customers early. Not only do you get their input and thoughts, but also they feel heard and listened to, and that can result in greater customer satisfaction and also greater profit, revenue, etc. Who else has questions? Jason, keep them coming. Who else?
Russell, this is Nat. Can you hear me?
Yes, Nat.
So how would you apply this to a value stream which composes of multiple products? That's question number 1. And also for services let
me stop you there, because I won't remember your second one. So how do we apply this to a value stream that consists of multiple products? This is really good. Well, with a value stream that includes multiple products, it's important that each of those products deliver the maximum amount of value possible. And I think the vision is important, because if we get that wrong, we are going to, by definition, limit, because of our own fault, we're going to limit the value that we can deliver. We may even find that in the extreme case, if we think of the limit condition of this equation, we may even find that one of the products that we have in mind is actually not going to meet the most pressing and urgent need of our customers, or maybe no longer meets the most pressing and urgent needs of our customers, because our customers' needs can change over time. Does that help about the value stream of the products, Nat, or do you want to peel that back a little bit more?
I need to reflect on your answer, so
Okay.
I think it's okay.
What was the part 2 of that, or the second question?
So part 2 is around, let's say you're developing a set of services that obviously don't have like a user interface or customer facing component to it.
Yes.
How do you tailor this this process of elaborating the vision to a set of services? Yeah,
that's really good. So in this case here, in this example I used, there's a human being who has the need, right? But often in the case of service, not often, but sometimes, we'll just say sometimes. I don't like to say often or most of the time, but sometimes the need is not the need of another human being. well, we might not initially think of it as the need of another human being. We may think of it as the need of a larger process or a larger value stream or a larger system, right? That we're providing a service that meets certain needs. And so you would have to craft this. So the target audience question no longer is perfectly appropriate, right? So you need to rephrase that, which is something instead of, you may even actually exclude that for a moment, and you might ask, what are the, instead of what do they want, but you might say, what is this target system or target process? Those are two words that might work instead of audience, system or process. And instead of saying, what do they want, you might ask, what does it need, right? Because it's not a they, it's an it, a system or a process. And then the benefits will hold true because we can identify the expected, that part holds true. The current problem or opportunity holds true, and how the solution will be different from the current state. Those two things hold true. But the target audience and the word they and the idea of a want, right? Because inanimate objects don't have wants. They might have needs or requirements. Actually, not even needs, requirements perhaps. Does that help a little, Nat? You want to peel that one back some more?
Yep, I think that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Michael, would you like to ask your question out loud? He can't. So I'll read it for him. You have a big client that influences much of your product development versus other small clients. How do you reconcile a heavily influenced product vision, because of this client, versus perhaps a more agile or low impact product vision for smaller clients? You have a big client that influences much of your product development versus other small clients. How do you reconcile a heavily influenced product vision, perhaps a small? That is a good question. Yeah, and I have seen this. I have seen, and I won't mention the product or the vendor, but I've seen products that end up getting bloated because they have some large clients that end up requesting features, and they insert those features in the product because a big client account, right, wanted the feature, and so they put that in. And then another big client account says, we're going to have, if we want to buy your bazillion licenses of your product, you have to have these features. And so over time you got bloat. There is not, sadly, there's not an easy answer to this, and I'm not suggesting you thought there was an easy answer to this. You're elaborating on your question. Product was an acquisition from a big client, and the big client remains heavily involved, but you want to grow the product for smaller clients to grow the business. Product was acquisition from a big client. Big client remains heavily, that's right, but you want to grow the product for smaller clients to grow. Well, I think this is a crucial conversation, but it is a conversation that you probably need to have, maybe not you, but your organization needs to have with that client, because what we want to seek, if I'm going to quote Stephen R. Covey, we want to seek a win-win relationship where your big client wins, but yet you also win. And so you want your big client to understand what your needs are, or what the opportunity is that you're trying to pursue with the smaller clients. And you don't want to rush into that conversation. You want to craft your message very carefully. But I would suggest that you endeavor to consider how you have a conversation, and it may be multiple conversations with your big client to help them understand that, yes, you understand what they consider a win, but they need to understand for the long term what you need to win, and so that you can help, because really that's who you're trying. The small customers would love for you to serve them, but you're going to figure out what for the big customer to make some kind of a concessions so that you can achieve whatever your long-term financial goals are. And there's Michelle.
Hello. We've reached 2 o'clock. The time flies. So thank you all. Thank you, Russell. So for everybody that has joined us, I'm going to put some content into the chat channel. we're getting ready to filter over to the open space time of our day, and so we'll filter over to the main rooms for that. Is there anything parting thoughts, Russell, before we adjourn?
You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn and on Slack, and I'd love to have you join me on one of my upcoming classes, my Professional Scrum Product Owner classes or Professional Scrum Master classes for scrum.org. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thanks, everyone.